Welcome to the full analysis video on Scriabin's Opus 73 No. 2, Sombre Flames. I'll give some brief background and then we'll go through the whole piece on piano. Sombre Flames is one of the last pieces Scriabin wrote, and he considered it a dance piece. It uses AB-AB form, with the A section being longer, bringing us to a distant key center, and the second half of the piece is shorter, staying in the starting key. What do I mean by key centers in an atonal piece? Watching my series on Scriabin's atonality will add a lot of clarity. In short, the piece starts and ends with F in the bass, however the harmony used throughout the piece bears no resemblance to traditional harmony. Instead of a typical tonic-dominant relationship, Scriabin moves to what I call the tritone dominant, meaning a movement from F to B is foundational in this piece. The harmony in this piece mostly uses chords from the octatonic scale, but also uses the occasional mystic chord. We have to use set theory to specifically describe his atonal harmony, so I've labeled the score with fort numbers, which are the names of sets, which you can think of as scales, and I've highlighted the movements of the bass below in semitones. I have videos explaining these concepts, one of which showing that set 726 is a prominent set Scriabin uses, which is formed by combining his octatonic hexachord and the mystic chord. The opening set of pitches we come across in this piece is a subset or scale within 726, called 615. These large sets seem a bit complicated, but as we start analyzing the piece, you'll realize that Scriabin's atonality is a lot simpler and more formulaic than you might have thought by just listening. Let's get into it. We begin with a 4/3 polyrhythm, with the left hand playing 3 equally spaced notes at the same time that the right hand does 4 equally spaced notes, including the rest at the beginning. If we look at just the first measure, we see the first half of the measure is exactly like the second half of the measure, but the second half is transposed up a tritone to the tritone dominant B. It looks like this on the pitch circle, with the green being the first half of the measure, the white being the second half, and the black being the melody. While the opening chord is technically a weird 6/15 set that's a superset of mystic and octatonic sets, I want to focus on the very first chord we hear without the D flat, which is the same as the last chord of the piece. This is an octatonic subset called 5/16 that we can call F7 flat 9/13, or F7 with a D major above. Typically, Scriabin treats the flat 9 as a dissonance that resolves to a regular 9, but in this piece he's found a voicing he likes that allows him to use the flat 9 as a consonance. This isn't to say the flat 9 actually sounds any less disagreeable, but that Scriabin is accepting flat 9 chords in this piece as a sort of normal chord that doesn't require resolution that we'll see throughout the piece. So all these chords are voiced the same way, with the same figures transposing. F to B, F to B, then F down a minor third to D, then a tritone away to A flat. Then our melody's going to go where we expect, but the harmony changes to a surprise mystic chord. And this is just like the diatonic fourths voicing of the mystic chord, except the second pitch is down an octave. I love how the mystic chord is thrown in here as a surprising display of contrasting harmony. The extra tones added in measure 5 have us resolving between whole tone and mystic sets. Then measure 6 we're back to the octatonic sets, and all of this going back and forth between F and B. And the B chord is an awesome use of Scriabin's favorite octatonic set, 6Z49, voiced as a sharp 9 sharp 11 chord, and if we include the C sharp afterwards, we get the superset of the entire piece, 726. So that opening is kind of like a mini primary motif section on its own, and now we're really on to the A section, which feels like the verse of the song. The melody goes between the 6 and flat 6 scale degrees, just like the opening motif. The left hand throughout the piece smacks down on the second beat, where we might imagine a snare drum hitting on the flat 9 of the chord. Then we get the same surprise mystic chord figure as in the beginning on the tritone dominant. This gives us a 5-bar phrase, which isn't very common in Scriabin's music. Then we get another 5-bar phrase, but this time we move down a major third to D flat using the same material, now up a whole step from the previous tritone dominant. While movements of a minor third using octatonic harmony is a smooth shift that retains the same pitches, this major third movement creates a feeling of change as we explore new pitches. We start the next phrase on the tritone dominant of the D flat starting on G. We again move down a major third, making our new quasi-tonal center A and E flat. This is a 6-bar phrase that builds up tension and ultimately moves up a minor third, preparing us for the B section. The B section is supposed to be the dance section, and the first bit sounds like a disco feel that has a 3/2 polyrhythm. Through the entire section, the melody more or less holds F sharp constant. The harmony simply moves down a minor third and then up a minor third, revolving around A. Now we get the tumultuous section that sounds more like death metal. I'm strongly considering making a metal cover of this piece, so let me know in the comments if you'd appreciate such an arrangement, and check out my course on composing like Scriabin. In this section we have the same minor third movements, but with heavy emphasis on the downbeats, with the left hand quickly moving down a tritone. Then we get a transition section because in the A section we modulated to A as the focal pitch, so to return back to F he abruptly moves down a major third, and he keeps moving down minor thirds, keeping the F sharp constant, down to B, our tritone dominant that perfectly brings us back to F. The A section returns with almost the exact same presentation of the opening motif. After that, we get a brief 6-bar verse-like section starting on the tritone dominant B with a slightly more active melody. As is typical in a tonal piece, the second time around we don't get any modulations. Instead, we arrive at the B section in our starting key center of F. The second B section is just like the other B section except in the starting key center. It's a bit shorter and he adds an accelerando to make it build in disorienting intensity. The piece ends with a succinct presentation of the opening motif, a simple move from F to the tritone dominant B back to F, now using the simplified 5/16 set, or F7 flat 9 13. Several things make this piece special, including the mixture of octatonic and mystic sets, flat 9 voicings, and polyrhythms. What I appreciate most about the piece is the intense dance feels of the B section. I hope you all could see that a complex atonal Scriabin piece like this is really just made up of a few sets transposing in predictable ways. I'll be teaching these sort of concepts in depth in my course on composing like Scriabin, so please check out my website, join the Discord, like, comment, subscribe, and consider donating.